Hello there everybody, you may have just seen a review I did on this Star Killer lightsaber. What I want to do is put a wrap here on the handle. Now it did come with a wrap, but I did not like it, so I bought a new wrap. This one here is real leather, unlike the one that came with it. The one that came with is like a pleather, so that's going to fall apart real quick. This is the one it came with. I don't like the color, it feels really cheap. It's kind of like a pleather material, so I don't like the way it looks at all. If you have some cheaper sabers, you may be able to utilize this for one of those, but something like this Star Killer, I wanted to put something real that looked and felt great, and real genuine leather is the way to go. You can run out to Home Depot and grab some of this contact cement, something really sharp like an X-Acto knife, maybe a Sharpie so you can mark the leather, and something like a ruler so you can make a nice straight cut. So one of the things you have to decide right up front is where you're going to start from, the top or the bottom of the handle. And if you're thinking, why do I have to decide now? Well, because every time you loop this around, these little overlaps will either face up or face down. So this is what it looks like when you start from the top. So now this is what the loop will look like. So every one of these edges will now be facing up. So when you start from the top of the hilt, everything will be facing upward. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I personally like to start from the bottom and work my way up. So let me mock this up so you can see what I'm talking about here. Now this is just my personal preference. I don't think it really makes any difference. Just whatever you like. Alright, so now you can see every edge of the loop is now facing downwards. Again, it's just a personal preference. I don't think it makes a difference which way the edges are facing, up or down. It's just how I like it. Alright, so I took the handle off so it's a little easier to work with. I'm going to do a full mock-up so I can measure the leather and mark my in and out cut marks. Alright, let's grab the Sharpie. So we're going to mark the bottom part of the leather and the top part of the leather. So right underneath, right where they meet, you can make a mark there, and right where the top meets that piece of leather, I'm just going to put a little dot there. So let me show you what that looks like. So we got the top with that little mark. See that right there? And the mark directly under it, right there on the piece that's just below. So when we take this off, this is going to be a cut mark. And the top piece that laps over it is going to be the other cut mark. So this is just a simple way to mark your in and out. So this is how simple it is. You have the in and the out mark that we just made right here at the top, straight across to the bottom. So that's what we're going to cut across. You're going to want to make sure you have something really sharp like an X-Acto knife. Make sure you have a fresh blade on it. They also make those rotary tools, kind of looks like a pizza cutter in a way. Those are very useful if you have one, but I don't have one on hand, so I'm going to use this because I have a ton of blades. Alright, so we're going to hold down the leather piece with the ruler here. Nice and tight so that the leather doesn't move. You want to put a lot of pressure. So I'm going to cut just before each of the dots. So I can cut those off and you won't see the dots on the leather. And make sure you're holding the ruler nice and tight so that the leather doesn't move. You want a nice straight cut. Alright, look at that. Beautiful. Now a great part is that they give you enough of material to wrap 2 hilts. So don't throw this away. You can utilize it for something else. Alright, so little by little, we're going to take our contact cement and put it on the wrap here. We're going to do this like 4 or 5 inches or so at a time because you want to be able to hold the leather and not get the glue all over you. So we're going to just do it piece by piece. And trust me, you don't want to rush this. The more time you take, the better the results are going to be. Alright, we're going to start with this front piece over here. Grab the contact cement and we'll put our first coat of glue. Alright, let's get started. Then make sure you cover it top to bottom, a nice coat of glue. Now, don't worry if you get the glue everywhere. Like you can see here, I'm getting it on the mat here. It comes off super easy. You just kind of roll your fingers on it and it just rolls off. All right, let's start here and try to get it nice and lined up at the bottom of the pommel. I'll take my X-Acto knife just to kind of push it down to the edge. Now, the great part with the contact cement is that it takes like something like 15 or so minutes to kind of set in. So you do have a little bit of play time if you need to kind of go back and readjust. It's not going to dry that fast and set like crazy glue, Loctite, stuff like that. All right, so now that we have that on there, we're going to do the next couple of inches. Alright, so we're now starting our first loop around, and with every loop around, you're going to start the overlapping process. Alright, here we're crossing over the first loop. We're now starting our upward angle. Press down a little bit with every loop, that way you can make sure the glue is setting in nicely. Alright, so you can see now that we're starting that upward flow. So you want to be able to make sure that you watch the distance of every loop. That way it looks nice and consistent and, you know, just evenly spaced all the way up. Alright, let's glue the next few inches, and I'll speed the video up so you can kind of see the whole process a little bit faster. That way it's not too mind-numbing, but it's the same process over and over. Couple inches, glue. Couple inches, glue. And make sure you're watching the distance between every loop, and just make sure it's nice and consistent. Take your time. There's no reason to rush on this. The more time that you take up front, the better it's going to look in the end. Alright, here we go, rounding that last loop with the little edges over here. Now, if it's done right, this should be perfectly cut and aligned right to that edge of the lip. And just overlap over that last loop just a little bit. Alright, my friends, there we go. This is so nice. The quality of this leather is fantastic. Look at that. A beautiful, cracked, kind of aged brown leather. And just like that, we have a wrapped lightsaber. I loved this Starkiller lightsaber before I did this, and this just brought it to a whole new level. Now, the video game version is wrapped as well, but you know what the cool thing is? If it's your lightsaber, you could do whatever you want with it. If you want a red wrap, or a blue wrap, or a neon green wrap, do what you want to do. Find that wrap and put it on it. Be creative and have fun doing it. Be safe and kind out there in the world. See you on the next video.